Hi everyone, welcome to my home and quite literally my kitchen table. I am Suzette Martinez Valladares, candidate for U.S. Congress in California's 25th Congressional District. Tonight, my family missed Taco Tuesday, so we had tacos tonight. So thankfully my husband, who is just so sweet and such an amazing cook, made our tacos tonight. But I was inspired by to have Taco Tuesday on Taco Wednesday tonight because I was so lucky to have volunteered at the Antelope Valley Hispanic Chamber of Commerce's Taco Festival this past Saturday. And it was really an amazing event. It turned out, I don't even know how many people. I think they were expecting at least 5,000 people, but it was an amazing event. They had live music. They had some reggaeton, some of my favorite Daddy Yankee and Pitbull. They had live flacorico. It was really an amazing event. I was able to talk a little bit to Palmdale City Councilman Richard Loa, who judged the Chihuahua beauty contest. And there were some really cute Chihuahuas out there. Let me just say, our district has the most beautiful Chihuahuas in all of the United States. And you can ask City Council Member Richard Lowe about that. I was able to talk a little bit to Senator Scott Wilk, as well as Assemblyman Tom Lackey, all very amazing legislators in the Antelope Valley and serving our district and our community. Excuse me, I am a little sick this week. I'm actually pretty sick right now. I've been living on Dayquil and NyQuil. So for you moms out there and you parents, you know that the parenting gig is never up. You can't call in sick. So I've been getting by on Dayquil and NyQuil. So forgive me tonight if I seem a little more loopy or a little more fun than usual. We actually asked for questions in advance this time. This is the fourth Facebook Live Town Hall that I'm hosting. And as I mentioned previously, I will be doing live Facebook Town Halls every Wednesday at 8 p.m. from now and even when I get to Washington to represent you, because I think it's so important that we have the time to connect and talk about the issues that are most important to you and the issues that you talk about at your kitchen table. So bear with me. We had a lot of questions, live questions last week, and I think I covered all of them. If I didn't cover them, ask them again tonight. And I'm gonna move to the thread of questions. So I'm toggling between my camera here and my laptop with some of our questions from earlier today. And of course, I had it all set up, but it's gonna wanna take some time to load. So there is one question: when is my next event in Santa Clarita? So I was supposed to be in Santa Clarita next week for the Republican Women's, the Santa Clarita Valley Republican Women's lunch, and I don't know if I'm going to be speaking there. Shalom, Michael Ott. I don't know if I'm going to be speaking there next week, but I'll definitely be at the lunch for a little while. Michelle, I think I have quite a few events coming out, but who asked that question? Donald. If you'd like to host a coffee at your house and invite some of your neighbors, please reach out to my team. And if you're in the Santa Clarita area, I will come to you and I'll talk to you about the issues that are important to you and your neighbors. It'll be a great opportunity for me to meet you and talk about the issues important to you. Okay, so here are some of the comments or questions on Facebook. Okay, I guess it's not working. Guys, so I live in a very rural part of the district. I live in Acton. My husband and I have 11 acres. Hi, Gayla. Hi, Jessica. My great friend, Jessica from Nashville, childhood friend. So anyways, I live in a very rural part of the district and Acton, and we have satellite internet. So my internet sucks sometimes. Pardon my French there. So, simple things like logging onto Facebook and trying to look at your feed is not always the easiest thing. And I know that they're introducing 5G, and right now we're waiting for, I guess there's supposed to be towers that have to be, in order to get higher speed internet, whether it's 5G or 4G, or you have to be towers that are in a line of sight of your house. And we're not in line of sight because it's kind of, we live in that mountainous part. So while this is loading, I promise to get to these questions because it's super important for everyone who can't make it tonight that asked these questions to do this. But I do see that there are some questions here already. So I will scroll up and see what I can find. Okay. So Chris, do you have a detailed position on gun control? And Chris, I saw that you had asked me that several times last week, and I should have been more specific. When it comes to the Second Amendment, I am a huge supporter of the Second Amendment. And in 2008, when we had the DC versus Heller decided on by the Supreme Court, it was made very clear that individuals have the right to bear arms for our own personal safety and protection. And I think that was a case that really changed our view of the Second Amendment in America. But I 100% support the Second Amendment and think that individuals have the right to bear arms. I am a supporter of individuals being able to own semi-automatic weapons. For instance, the guns that we own here in my home are semi-automatic. I have a handgun. It's a Smith & Wesson 9mm. I'm a pretty good shot. The 45 and the 40 have a little bit too much kickback for me personally, so I like a 9mm. And it's the weapon I feel most comfortable with. We also have a shotgun in our house. So it's the weapon I feel most comfortable with for my own home and self-defense. So specifically, I support the Second Amendment. I support common sense regulations. I do understand and think that there should be regulation and there should be oversight when it comes to gun ownership. Very common sense measures and regulation and oversight I support. I believe it's also a state's right to control some of that regulation while not completely overstepping our right to bear arms according to the Second Amendment. Is that a little bit more specific? Unless you have another. I mean, it's a really big and broad issue, and it's an issue that we're still debating to this day, and it's an important issue, I think, for our district as well. A lot of our district are either in public safety, they're law enforcement, or they live in rural parts of the district where gun control and that issue is very important. So I am a supporter of gun control. If there's something more specific you want me to talk about, please ask. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Guys, if you do have any, if you're looking to connect with me or set up a coffee, you can reach out to Michelle. Michelle Martinez, who is in charge of operations here for my campaign. Kelly, welcome. Thank you so much for being such an amazing supporter. Your question tonight is, are you pro-life? What is government's role in women's health? So I am personally pro-life. I'm a Christian. It's the way I was raised. It is how I will raise my daughter. I think it is a responsibility of parents and the church and nonprofits to educate women, to teach morals and values, and it's a value set and system that I was raised on and I will teach my daughter. However, I also believe that, I'm a little bit of a limited government conservative. And I think that government should stay out of trying to legislate morals. I think a woman should have the right to choose, but I also believe that the rights of an unborn child should be extended when they are viable. The same thing that goes for the LGBTQ rights. I think that, we should not discriminate, but we should not favor. These are issues that I think are important to our community, and they're very controversial. They're controversial for Republicans in general, especially Republicans in California. But that's my position. Thank you for bringing that up. We had a candidate forum with the Lincoln Club a couple weeks ago, and I feel like that question gave me an opportunity to be more specific and more clear that while I am personally pro-life, I do believe that women do have the right to choose, and government should stay out of it until an unborn child is viable. We're seeing that this is becoming a huge issue right now on both ends of the spectrum. Where we have the Alabama ruling, which I think is going to be contested and brought, before the Supreme Court. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, we have New York's legislation, which is calling for infanticide. And as a Christian, it breaks my heart that anyone would find it acceptable or promote legislation or make it morally relevant to kill a child, a baby, at a day before a due date. I'm a mother, and when you carry a child in your belly, and when you feel those first flutters of life, it becomes so real. And I remember when I was pregnant, Shane would read books to my belly, and I would play songs, and I would speak to Charlotte, and I called her by name. I called her Charlotte. And, at certain times of the day, I knew she was going to be awake, and I would poke her and literally play with her while she was in my belly. And to think that someone could advocate or pass legislation that could kill an unborn child that is an intelligent being playing with you in their womb, it deeply saddens me for society. So I will always be an advocate when unborn children are viable, to protect them. And that I don't think that supporting a woman's right to choose and supporting the rights and life of an unborn child are mutually exclusive. Okay. Great question. Thank you, Kelly. So we have Jeremiah. Welcome, Jeremiah. Kamala Harris came out today and said that her DOJ, would have no choice but to prosecute Trump. What is your position on the Mueller report and the spying on Trump? So my position on the Mueller report is that we spend, I think, $24 million over 2 years via the best investigative agency in the entire world to offer an over 400-page report that ultimately could not find that the president was involved in collusion with the Russian government. I think that Congress needs to move forward and legislate and produce legislation that the American people sent them to Washington to produce and pass. And specifically when it comes to spying, I think Russia is a serious threat. I think they have meddled in our elections and Australian elections, and we need to be thinking about how we combat and prevent them from spying, from interfering with our elections moving forward. And I would be 100% supportive of spending money, whether it's through hearings or whatever it is, to get some real solutions to avoiding that in the future. Kamala Harris, that's her DOJ is a complete spin. I don't think the American people would support that DOJ, and she's just looking for some type of way to get into the spotlight right now. Her and her bestie Katie Hill want the spotlight because they're trying to to manipulate voters to get elected. And I think Joe Biden is really hogging up some of the news cycle, and she's saying things just to get some attention. That's my view on her DOJ. So let's go over here. I know I have some more questions on here, but okay. So we're gonna go to comments from earlier. Okay. So Greg asked me earlier, do you support DACA? So I do support DACA. And even the president has said that we need to come to a permanent solution for youth that have been brought to the United States by undocumented immigrants through no fault of their own. However, this is a part of a broader question and a broader really inaction of Congress to produce real immigration reform and true border security. Now, I think that we need immigration reform. And that starts with a safe, secure, and modern border. I was actually on the phone this past week with a friend of mine who happened to be a Border Patrol agent. We're gonna visit the border in about 2 weeks to talk about what is actually needed at the southern border and what the president is asking for. And the president is obviously in constant communication, and his administration is in communication with the Border Patrol and doing assessments of what is needed and what is being asked for. And I support what is needed and what is being asked for. But I'm gonna go have a deeper conversation with Border Control in about 2 weeks. So when I do that, I'm gonna come back with some really amazing photographs and a really more clear picture. I have my own personal experiences at the border and my own personal opinion personally, and then also based on what I've talked to constituents, but it's gonna be an exciting experience. The one other thing that I'll say about DACA is that while I support DACA, I don't believe that the Obama administration or President Obama had the executive power to actually order. I think it was an overreach of power. So I don't believe on the way it was implemented. It needs to be something produced by Congress, by the legislature. And I know that the courts may or may not take that up this summer. I know they're probably going to be, the Supreme Court is going to be looking at making some decisions based on gerrymandering and possibly DACA this summer. So it'll be really interesting to see if I'm right, if the Obama administration, if it was an overreach of power for the executive office. Great question, Greg. So Irma asked, what will you do to stop Newsom from handing out benefits to illegal immigrants at taxpayers' expense? Will you prove to them that these handouts is what brings more people to California? I definitely agree with you, Irma, that whether it's at the state level or whether it's at the federal level, we can no longer have policies that incentivize people to come here through the wrong way, through an illegal process to take advantage of our system, which is why it's so important that we work on true immigration reform and true border security. In terms of what will I do to stop Gavin Newsom, well, the first thing I did is I didn't vote for him. I voted for John Cox. The second thing I did is that I voted for my state assemblyman Tom Lackey and my state senator Scott Wilk, who I believe are not supporting this. I think about the growing homelessness crisis that we have in California and in different cities across the nation. I think that we've raised we've actually through Measure HHH inserted over $450 million into the homeless problem here in California. We can't continue to just throw money at the homeless problem. But we have a $22 billion surplus in California. And I would be for diverting some, if you're not gonna send that money back to the taxpayers, which would be my first priority, send that money back to the taxpayers. Why not send it to education? Why not send it to our homeless problem? Creating another unsustainable program and social welfare program in California is not affordable, it's not sustainable. So it's not just what I'm going to do to stop Gavin Newsom, but it's what we have to do as a community. We have to ensure that we're electing conservative members, fiscal conservatives, to our state legislature, because really this one-party system is not working. And as a conservative, as your representative in Congress, I will support conservative legislators 100%, because in the end, I am still and will always be a lifelong California resident, and I want our state to flourish, and we can't do that with the current one-party system. Great question, Irma. Okay. So, okay, let's go back over here. I'm toggling so many questions from you guys. Nice menu. Oh, you see Matt Morales. Hi, Matt. Matt's my old buddy, old friend. Yes, you see up there, guys, right there. That is my menudo pot, and it's so massive that it doesn't fit in any of my drawers. So menudo and pozole. I'm actually a better, I don't make menudo very well. The meat is usually really tough for me to cut up. So my dad is the menudo king. He makes menudo. And Dad, are you watching? You want to make some menudo this week? I make really good pozole, chicken pozole. So the next time I have some, maybe we'll do a lottery and some people can come over and taste my pozole, or we can do a pozole cook-off. That would be really fun. Martin, what is your solutions or policy prescriptions for the student loan crisis? Right. So this is an issue, Martin, one, that if you have any insight as to what we can do, I'd love to hear it. But this is an issue that's coming up quite often in some of my meetings with community stakeholders, is that specifically in the financial sector, is they're expecting that since the Obama administration made really all of our students loan government-owned student loans, we have just went so into debt, along with students, obviously. And they're expecting that there will be a bubble that can come down hard on our economy. I do agree that it's something that we have to address in advance now. I'm open to ideas, but I kind of look at it as a two-pronged thing. I look at it as when it comes to, I took out student loans. And I took out student loans for the last 2 years of my education when I was at, well, actually 3 years, when I was at Cal State Northridge. And I remember going through the whole FAFSA process and them telling me, oh, you qualify, I think it was like for $20,000 a semester. It was something really crazy. I'm like, wait a minute, but this semester is only going to cost me $3,000. Why would I need $20,000? And I understand some students may want to take out, extra money to buy books, or there's certain things, or whether it's housing. There are reasons why you may need extra money above what just tuition was. I happened to work. I knew that I was going to have to pay back those student loans sometime. So I only took out what I needed in the bare minimum of what I needed, and I worked full time to help put myself through college. And I don't think that, unfortunately, that's what the system is asking of students anymore. And I think the first part of it we need to look at is, how do we insert competition and systemic competition into our university system that will ultimately help drive down the cost of college and degrees. I also think that we seriously need to look at the way we are paying for actual degrees, right? If you go to college and your degree is in basket weaving. I don't know if anyone has a degree in basket weaving, please let me know. Just for example, versus a biology major or chemistry major, right? Those degrees and fields, when you leave college, are going to produce very different entry-level salaries, and we should have some serious financial planning with students, and it should be a recommendation or a requirement, I should say, rather, of our university system to require that students understand their debt, they understand how to pay it back, they understand what they're most likely going to be making when they leave college based on the degree that they received. You know, the University of Antelope Valley out here, I was talking with Sandra Johnson, who was telling me that their student default rate is less than 1%, which is absolutely unheard of and amazing, because they do that exact same thing with their students. And the playing field for our private for-profit, who cares if they're for-profit, if they're producing quality students and degrees, it shouldn't matter. But the point is that they're not held to the same standards. And I'm seeing that across the board in both K through 12, as well as higher education, that government should not be picking winners and losers. And I am all for competition into the marketplace to address some of these issues. Great question. Jason, welcome. It's great to see you. Oh, Mike, amen. Pro-life is the way. Catherine, welcome. Okay. Haha. Carrie. And the Antelope Valley is the redheaded stepchild of Los Angeles County. How will you help us get more of that tax money that the state and county grab and then trickle down to us? So, just checking on time here, guys. I'm sure I have lots of time. So yes, I mean, I agree with you. People, you know, I was in San Diego a couple years ago, right after I moved to Acton. And I was driving behind a car, and the car had a bumper sticker that said, where the hell is Acton, right? People who wears Acton. I mean, it's a different world out here. It's a desert world that I love. But people forget that Palmdale, that Lancaster, Quartz Hill, Perry Blossom, Lake Los Angeles, that all of these areas are in Los Angeles County. And especially in the unincorporated areas of Los Angeles County, we do see that we are extremely underfunded. And we have a great county supervisor, Catherine Barger, who fights for resources, who is in the Antelope Valley a lot, supporting and talking with constituents. Her staff is great. They've worked actually with my father-in-law, who owns Malcolm Restaurant off of Pear Blossom. They're doing some road work. They're actually doing an expansion there along the 58, the 138. And that has been brought to you by LA County. But you're absolutely right. We need more money specifically for infrastructure, for transportation here in the Antelope Valley, as well as in Santa Clarita Valley, whether it is the 5 freeway or the 14. I mean, traffic is just insane. We have 100,000 families that leave the Antelope Valley every morning to travel to work. 100,000 families. And personally, I don't have to leave the house before 8 a.m. I'm going to do everything in my power to not have to leave the house before 8 a.m. to get to Santa Clarita or to get to Sylmar or to get, anywhere south, because traffic is just insane. I remember when I first moved to Acton, I knew that the traffic was bad traveling south on the 14, but I had to be at Burbank Airport, and I woke up at like 4 in the morning, and I'm like, oh, I have to be at Burbank by 7. I'll leave by 5:30 or 6. I'll be fine. I woke up intending to leave at 5:30 or 6, and when I got up at 4, I could see through my maybe I'll show you guys one day. I could see all of the red tail lights. Traffic was insane. It takes you, the earlier you leave, it's almost like it takes you longer to leave. So at the federal level, I definitely think that there is opportunity for somebody who's very strong and understands our community and understands the commute and understands that we need transportation and infrastructure dollars. I will advocate and bring those dollars to our community because it is much needed. We are in a part of LA County where really it's the only place left for additional growth, and it's the only place where in LA where there's some true affordable housing, and even that is becoming few and far between. So it's something that on a long-term basis we have to think about. And I will advocate for that in Washington, bringing funding directly for projects here in the 25th Congressional District. So Patty, I did go over this a little bit. So what is your position on immigration reform? How are you going to reach the Latino community? Hablas español. So, hablo poquito, and I get really nervous when I speak Spanish. So I say I don't speak Spanish, but I understand it. I usually respond in English. I'm working on it, guys. I know sometimes I seem super confident, but in my Spanish, I'm not all that confident. What is my position on immigration reform? Well, again, I think it's a two-pronged system. We need first a safe, secure, and modern border. We need to fund our southern border, whether it's boots on the ground, aerial technology, barriers, a wall, slats, ground technology, whatever it is that after a true assessment is needed at the southern border, we should fund. On the brief conversation that I had with the Border Patrol friend of mine this past weekend, he was saying that, they had brought in, he remembers the time when they brought in this $50 million drone that could identify and actually did identify a truck filled with narcotics. And they identified the truck, but they didn't have any boots on the ground in any way to intercept it. So it's not just one thing that is going to be needed at our southern border. It's a multitude of things, including infrastructure, and they are extremely underfunded. So we need to support our southern border. Now that goes into immigration reform. We need a modern immigration reform. I think about programs like the Bracero program, which I was a supporter of. Obviously, I wasn't around when that was around, but I am a supporter of the concept of the Bracero program. My family happened to migrate from Mexico to the United States, and my dad's side of the family in 1917. They originally went to Texas, then came to Kern County, have been in Bakersfield. I have a huge family who a lot of them are actually on tonight as well, from the Kern County, Bakersfield area. Obviously that the breadbasket of the United States when it comes to agriculture, a lot of that comes from our Central Valley. We're a huge agriculture state. And sometimes in some years, we're gonna need workers that want to come work in agriculture. And other years, we may find that as a nation, we need very specific technicians or very specific degrees by the workforce. And I think there needs to be an assessment annually or maybe even biannually, every legislative session or cycle maybe, that would say, okay, this is what we're going to need. I think we can't, when it comes to visas and issuing visas and work visas and student visas, there are so many of them. We need to streamline that process for sure. And there are other things I think we need to do on immigration policy. Time is flying tonight. So your last part of your question is, how are you going to reach the Latino community? I think that it all begins with relationships. And I have spent the past decade very much involved with the Latino community and California, the California and Southern California community in general. But I helped my good friend Bill Miranda, when I was working for Buck McKeon, start the Santa Clarita Latino Valley Chamber of Commerce, who eventually merged into the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce. The Latino or Hispanic market is $1 trillion market. It is, so I was super excited. And actually, Latinos are the fastest growing small business owners in the United States. It is a community that, like all communities, is based on relationships. I also happen to have been very active in the Republican National Hispanic Assembly. I was the state director of Hispanic initiatives for the state of California. Engaging Latinos to be active participants in our political process has been a passion of mine for decades. We are a huge voting bloc. We're slowly but surely increasing our turnout every election cycle. But Hispanic issues are all American issues. Latinos want a quality education for their children. Latinos want a safe United States. Latinos want the opportunity to own businesses or to have a job or to own a home. Like, we share the same dreams that every American shares because we are American. So the short answer to that is it's all about building relationships. I will probably really be working on my Spanish. I'm actually more comfortable one-on-one in Spanish, but I will be working on my Spanish as another means to ensure that I communicate with the Latino Spanish-speaking community. Hey guys, so it is quite about that time. I'm surprised Charlotte hasn't come over here to snag me from you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your questions. If I didn't answer your question, I'm sorry. I will get to it next week because you'll be on next week asking me the same questions for our 5th Facebook Live Town Hall. If you would like to support me, if you'd like to meet with me, if you'd like to host a coffee to learn more about my policy positions, or if you want to just sit down with me and tell me what you think needs to happen for our community in Washington, please reach out to me. Visit my website at www.SuzetteValladares.com. I'm really interested to hear what you think needs to happen, and I would appreciate your support. I would appreciate your vote, and I do need you to contribute to my campaign. $5, $10, whatever you can will help me get our message out, whether it's paying for digital ads or mail. All of those things cost money. I'm from the nonprofit world, and I used to be very adamant that you could literally have the cure to cancer, but unless you have the money to get your message out or to get your product out or to get your cure to cancer out, it doesn't matter. So I do need your support. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I will see you next week, next Wednesday, for my 5th town hall at 8 o'clock. Bye guys, have a good night.